Same chapter, same day. Elijah called fire down from heaven, and it released the rain that ended a 3.5-year famine. The visitation and the economic restoration were one movement. This is the word for the season, and we are unpacking it right now. My name is Sharon Webster. This is Recalibrate Legacy, and we have made it to the final week of Sivan. 4 weeks ago, I asked you one question. What are you building? We walked through the waiting trap, the places where delay had been dressed up as patience. We uncovered the missing piece between blessing and building. And last week, we went into the covenant ground of Genesis 26, Isaac and famine land, redigging the stopped-up wells, sowing when the conditions were not right, and receiving a hundredfold return from God who honors covenant faithfulness. But before I give you the designation of this whole series, before I show you where all of this building was always pointing, I need to show you something the Spirit has been weaving through the final weeks of Sivan that I do not want you to miss. The revival community has been standing on passages of Scripture that carry an economic dimension we have not fully seen, and Sivan is the month that reveals it. Sivan is the third month on the Hebrew calendar, and the 3 spring months tell a complete story. Nisan sets you free. It's the redemption month, the barley breakthrough, out of Egypt into deliverance. Iyar made you whole. We saw Jehovah Rapha in operation, the healing God, the in-between season that was preparation, not punishment. And Sivan is the building month, the month God gave the Torah or his instructions on Mount Sinai, the month the Spirit fell in Acts 2, the month of the wheat harvest, the month that asked, now that you are free and whole, what are you building? But Sivan is also the month where God consistently revealed something to his people that went beyond the spiritual encounter. It showed them the economic dimension of what he was doing. And that thread runs all through the Bible, from Genesis to the prophets to the New Covenant. Every major spiritual event in Scripture has an economic consequence. The two were never meant to arrive separately. Let me show you 3 texts that the Spirit has been illuminating to me across this final Sivan season. The first is 1 Kings 18, Elijah on Mount Carmel. The altar soaked 3 times with water. The prayer that called down heaven. The fire of God falling and consuming everything in its path. The revival community has anchored its faith to the fire for good reason. The fire is real. The purification is real. The awakening is real. But stay in the chapter, because immediately after the fire fell, Elijah went to the top of Mount Carmel, bowed down to the ground, and began to pray. He sent his servant to look toward the sea 7 times. On the 7th time, a cloud the size of a man's hand rising from the sea was seen, and then the heavens opened. 1 Kings 18:45. And in a little while the heavens grew black with clouds and wind, and there was a great rain. For 3.5 years, friends, Israel had been in a drought. The agricultural economy of an entire nation had been shut up by the same spiritual condition that shut up the heavens. Farmers, vineyards, herdsmen, an entire generation of provision devastated. And the fire that fell on the altar didn't just purify the people, it released the rain. The rain ended the drought. The drought ending restored the economy of the nation. Same chapter, same day. The visitation and the economic restoration were never two separate events. They were one movement. The second text is Genesis 26, that we looked at extensively last week. Isaac in the famine. The Philistines had filled Abraham's wells with dirt after he died. This was a deliberate asset seizure, designed to dismantle covenant inheritance from the ground up. And Isaac's response was not to go to Egypt. He stayed in the contested territory and redug every well. Through contention at Esek, through accusation at Sitnar, until he reached Rehoboth, the broad place. Genesis 26:22. Now the Lord has made room for us, and we will be fruitful in the land. Then Isaac sowed in the year of famine, and the Lord gave him 100-fold. The wells were not just spiritual metaphors. They were covenant economic infrastructure. Whoever controlled the water controlled the land, the trade routes, the livestock, the commerce. The redigging of the wells was the restoration of covenant economic capacity, and the 100-fold came because Isaac stayed in covenant land and rebuilt the infrastructure. Their spiritual faithfulness and the economic restoration were not separate rewards. They were the same harvest. The third text is Habakkuk 2:14. You know the verse. You have decreed it. You have sang it. Habakkuk 2:14. For the earth will be filled with the knowledge of the glory of the Lord as the waters cover the sea. But read the verses that come before it. Habakkuk 2:6 through verses 13. They address predatory accumulation, those who pile up what is not theirs, debt reversal, unjust wealth returning to its rightful owners. Village after village of people who built with bloodshed and injustice. Verse 14 is not a standalone promise. It is the resolution. The glory filling the earth is the climax of a wealth redistribution passage. The glory and the transfer are the same event. The fire, the rain, the redug wells, the 100-fold, the glory filling the earth. These are not four separate promises. They are one covenant movement, and it always carries an economic dimension. So what does that matter, you might be asking? Why am I bringing you through 1 Kings 18, Genesis 26, and Habakkuk 2 in the final week of Sivan? Because I want you to understand what you are actually building when you build the three-chord life. You're not building a personal development framework. You're not optimizing your life for comfort or success. You're not creating a financial plan so you can retire well. You're building the covenant infrastructure that the move of God requires. The altar, the fire can fall on. The storehouse, the rain can fill. The wells that give the harvest somewhere to flow. The fire needs a prepared altar. The rain needs a built storehouse. The glory needs covenant vessels to fill. And the wealth transfer needs people whose financial structure is strong enough to receive it, hold it, and deploy it for kingdom purposes. That is what abundant life, fruitful ministry, and prospering industry are all about. It's not a tagline. It's not a brand. It's a covenant assignment. In 2022, I received 3 words in a divine encounter: life, ministry, and industry. Not 3 separate assignments, but one 3-chord life. And Ecclesiastes 4:12 says a 3-fold cord is not quickly broken. The first chord is abundant life. John 10:10. I came that they may have life and have it more abundantly. That word is perisis. It means exceeding, over and beyond, more than sufficient. The whole person thriving, spirit, soul, body, relationships, and finances. Nothing missing, nothing broken. That is shalom. This is the altar built and ready. This is the life that has no gaps for the enemy to exploit when the fire falls. The second chord is fruitful ministry. John 15:16 says, I chose you and appointed you that you should go and bear fruit, and that your fruit should abide. The expression of your gifts and the service of others, in your family, in your workplace, in your community, in your church, wherever God has placed you. Fruit that lasts, fruit that multiplies. That is the assignment that deploys what the harvest produces. The rain falls, and fruitful ministry is the channel it flows through into the world. The third chord is prospering industry. This is found in Genesis 26:12. Isaac sowed in the land and reaped in the same year 100-fold. The Lord blessed him. Your work, your marketplace presence, your financial systems, your legacy, all of it under covenant blessing. Deuteronomy 8:18 says, He gives you the power to get wealth, that He may establish His covenant. Wealth is always a covenant instrument, not a personal possession. Prospering industry is the storehouse built to receive what the rain releases, and the wells that give the 100-fold somewhere to land. Abundant life is the altar. Fruitful ministry is the channel. Prospering industry is the storehouse. Three chords woven together, one covenant infrastructure under shalom. The tribe associated with Sivan is Zebulun, the marketplace tribe. Moses blessed them by saying, Rejoice, Zebulun, in your going out. They went into commerce, into trade, with kingdom purpose. Their industry was an expression of their faith. They brought the sacred into the marketplace. They did not separate the two. And what Zebulun built financially supported the kingdom, the tribes, the people around them. Their prosperity was not personal accumulation. It was covenant capacity deployed for kingdom expansion. That is the life you were created for, not accumulation for accumulation's sake, but for deployment, the three-chord life in covenant action. If this series has stirred something practical in you, if you sense that one or more of these chords is out of alignment and the infrastructure is not ready for what God is building, I encourage you to get your financial alignment review. This is a covenant conversation, not a sales call. We'll look at the three chords together, your protection, your provision, your legacy, and we will build the pathway toward the whole life God designed for you. The fire is falling. The rain is coming. The wealth transfer is in the text. Make sure you have a structure built to receive it. The link for the review is in the description. Before I let you go, I want to speak the closing declaration of this entire Sivan season over you. Speak this with me. I am living a three-chord life, abundant life, fruitful ministry, prospering industry, all three chords, one life under shalom. I am not running three separate tracks. I am building the covenant infrastructure the move of God requires. The altar is prepared. The storehouse is being built. The wells are being redug. The fragmentation is over. The building has begun. Nothing missing, nothing broken. In the name of Yeshua, so be it, and so it is. Thank you for walking this Sivan season with me. What you build in this month matters. What you redig matters. What you refuse to leave behind matters. The fire is falling, the rain is coming, the harvest is whole, and you are building the infrastructure it requires. I'll see you in Tammuz. Keep building, friends. Shalom.